Thank you. All right.
All right, folks, if you're here for the wagon tour, we're going to go ahead and get started right over here. Thanks for being flexible. I appreciate it. I wanted to kind of focus a little bit more on this building today, kind of give myself a little bit more of a test, so I hope you don't mind. We started this building because it's also a lot cooler. But we have over 140 wagons here at Circus World, and so I really wanted to talk about a couple more than usual today, so I decided we're going to start here. So I'll start with this guy right here. This is one of 7 pony floats that were made for the P.T. Barnum Circus back in the 1800s, even before it was Barnum and Bailey. Of the 7, only 3 still exist today, and we have all 3 of them right here at Circus World.
Ooh.
Now, it was very typical for pony circuses to be a little bit smaller because they were going to be pulled by ponies rather than that full-blown horses pulling the full-blown wagons. All 3 of them are going to be featured with fairy tale themes. So you have the old lady who lived in the shoe right here. You have Mother Goose around the corner over there, and then Cinderella's going to be in the main Feld building on your way out where the Sweet Tooth show was this afternoon. Now, all 3 of them are covered in 24-karat gold leaf. We decided to do that because it kind of gives them a little bit more shine, a little bit more gleam, and makes them last a little bit longer, way longer than gold paint. However, it does extend the process of renovating them. This guy alone took about 7 years to complete. The reason for that is the shoe itself is made up of 27 layers, I believe, of 2x4s stacked on top of each other and then carved through the shoe. So each individual layer had to be taken off, hand carved, put back together. Every single head here was hand carved again, and then finally, once it was all put together, they could actually start with the gold leafing. If you've never seen gold leaf before, imagine a postcard that feels like a used gum wrapper. That's basically what it would look like to kind of smooth into every single crevice and every single bump, groove, and grind. So you'll see me touch a couple of the wagons. Please feel 100% to touch any and all wagons in our collection. I say that because it is one thing to actually take a picture of these guys, but it's a completely different to actually tangibly feel the history that went into these wagons. But I will ask that you please don't open any of the wagons or climb on top of them. A couple of them are actually built in the 1800s, like this one. The oldest one in our collection was built in 1893. And it still actually is pulled today. We do have a Bourbon Circus Day Parade here, July 20th this year, if you're around, where we do pull a lot of our wagons, and that one that was in 1893 still gets pulled. But we don't want to risk any damage to you guys or the wagons, so please stay off of them, but absolutely feel free to go ahead and touch, because how many times are you going to be able to touch real gold? Mm-hmm. So we'll keep on moving around here. I'll start with the one in the corner over here. This guy over here is special because it was the very first wagon in our collection. Chappie Fox, who the building across the way is named after, was our very first artistic director here at Circus World. And it was because of him that we have the major collection we have today. This is one of his byproducts. We received this in 1959. Yeah, 1959, pardon me. It was made for the Ringling Brothers back in 1903. Now, the reason for that was, in 1903 was the biggest wagon manufacturing year ever. And the reason for that, was Barnum and Bailey deciding that they wanted to end their European tour and come back to the United States. When they did, they had a huge parade planned. Once all the other circuses got wind of that, they too also wanted to have gigantic circuses to compete with Barnum and Bailey. So if you could afford a wagon, you bought a ton of them. So Ringling Brothers, again, caught up in the fever, had a bunch of wagons made to different themes of different countries to fill that worldwide feel. This guy also I like to point out because it has this nice little front scoop thing, and then it has a lime tablature here. The reason why I point that out is as we walk back, I'll show you an England wagon that was in a front end collision from the same collection. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about how they would have fixed the wagon while on the road and why they would have done it instead of having it basically pulled off the track. So as we walk around, you'll kind of see a good angle here of Mother Goose. Again, if you guys want to take pictures, feel free. She's even smiling for you. But as we walk around, I'll just kind of keep talking. Let me know if you can't hear me or if you see a wagon that you have questions about that I don't say anything about. My name is Matt. Just yell out Matt, throw something at me, get my attention, and I'll try and answer anything for you. But this Asia tableau over here is from that Barnum and Bailey collection I was speaking about previously. They had visited 4 continents on their world tour, so they represented that in 4 wagons. They had the Asia, America, Europe, and Africa. Unfortunately, during World War II, a lot of these tableaus were stripped off the wagons and the parts underneath were used for the war effort. Luckily, someone did maintain the Asia and America tableau pieces so that we could recreate it back to the way it would have looked. Unfortunately, no one did such a thing for Europe and Africa. So those no longer exist today. There are a couple pieces that still exist in the Smithsonian, but by and large, they no longer exist. Well, a very cool story about this wagon. In the 60s, to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the circus coming to America, we actually sent this guy and a couple other wagons down to Oklahoma for a state fair. While down there, one of our wagon restoration experts got bored, and as you do in a small town, went antiquing. Walked into a small antique store and found one of the faces of our tableau hanging on the wall. It is the Persian one on the other side, and he knew it was the original because it had a chip in the mustache, and you could see it was made out of wood, versus a lot of the replications would have been made out of plaster moldings from the originals. So we paid him $200 for it, and then didn't tell him what it was. But if you guys want to check it out, it is on the other side. It does have, it's Persia, it's the one with the big hat, and like I said, the chip in the mustache. We're very, very excited to have it back because otherwise it would have just had a plaster mold in there that would have looked similar, but it's always nice to have the original parts. So as we start walking back this way, the one on my left, your right, that is the England wagon from that Ringling Brothers collection, again in 1903. This is the one that was in the front end collision. And you can tell because if you look at the front, it does not have that stoop like the other one did. What they did to fix it was they cut the whole thing back, laid slats across, and then if you look at the top, you can kind of see a nice floral pattern along the edges until you get to the front where it becomes a wooden pole. They literally would have taken a pole, cut it in half, slapped it on there, and painted it the same color. Now, if you remember, usually these wagons have some sort of horse or lion on the front of it to be carved. That, unfortunately, no longer exists because it does not have the front. So they just took different parts of different wagons and threw them up there to finish it off, to make it look as complete as possible. They did this for 2 reasons. Number one, you could not lose a wagon of this size while on tour. This wagon itself would have stored such things as maybe a mess hall tent, some feed for animals, costuming, anything you could really shove into a wagon was going to be in there. And this was a lot of wagon to shove things into. Number 2, if you came into a town with a wagon that looked like it was in a front end collision, people would have seen your circus and gone, I'll wait for the next one to come into town. That's because it was very common for 6 or 7 circuses to follow the same route of performances. So if you were number 2 on the list and you came in with a wagon, people would go, I'd wait for the next one, and then all of a sudden you find yourself out of business. So you got to make sure you take care of your wagons like that. So we'll kind of head across the way here, where we'll head to our Wild West row. So this first wagon is from the Pawneeville Wild West show. When it was built, it cost them $8,000, which in today's money is about $125,000 for this wagon alone. And it is absolutely worth it. You can actually see that it does have a lot more detailed carving than most other wagons, and it has 2 different tableaus on it. The one facing us is Columbus discovering America, and on the other side is Pocahontas saving John Smith from the Braves. It is so well carved that you can actually feel a textural difference between the land, the sea, and the sky on this. And it's very interesting that they chose that because, again, this was mainly for storage alone. So even though it looks beautiful on the outside, it was probably covered in pig feet on the inside. So it's very, very cool to kind of have that collection, and it's very nice of how well it was actually maintained throughout all the years. Except for maybe Christopher Columbus's nose, but that's all right. Wagon here, Chuck Wagon, belonged to the 101 Wild West show. When they used it, it would have been basically circled up in a series of 5, and then they had the Indians come and attack it. they would actually set fire to the canvas, and they do that every single performance. So by that, all this wood is actually not the original, just because of fire damage throughout the years. However, everything that you see underneath it that is iron are the original pieces from that wagon. So as we move back, you have your standard stagecoach, and not just any stagecoach, you have the Wells Fargo wagon. It was painted like this for a traveling Wild West show. What they would do is they would have the banditos come over the hill to come rob the stagecoach, only for the U.S. cavalry to come over the hill and save the day. So it's really cool to kind of have that because it's, you know, iconic Wisconsin, but it's very cool to kind of have it as well to show off the different aspects of the Wild West shows. Now this guy, pardon me, get out of your way. This guy over here is one of my favorite wagons because it has my favorite backstory, and I'm really excited. Buffalo Bill Wild West Show was very popular in Europe, but when they came back to the United States, they found that popularity had been waning for Wild West shows. So as they traveled along, they started to lose money, and they would have to barter things away to help pay for animal feed and to actually pay the performers. This is one such thing that was bartered away to a farmer who was providing oats. Unfortunately, what do you do with a wagon when you're on a barn but turn it into a pig pen? So when we found this guy, it was living its life as a pig pen on a farm. Luckily, we knew who it belonged to and when generally it was made, so we could recreate it back to the way it would have looked while traveling with Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. So we're very lucky to have it in our collection. It's very lucky not to be a pig pen. So as we walk back, on my right, we have a hippo den. So you can actually see it. It has a over 300-gallon water tank built into the bottom to act as a reservoir for the hippo to get away in those hot summer days from both children and animals alike. You can kind of see across the way, that's basically what they would have had a setup for a blacksmith shop. It's actually new this year, so I'm really excited to show it off. This is what they would have done to kind of set everything up to have it fixed while on the road. Because like I said, you could not take a wagon off the road. So you can kind of see how they would have set up wood underneath the wheels to kind of get them off, fix them if they have to. It's pretty easy to correct the rims on the inside, especially on those really muggy, wet days. On my right here, you have a giraffe wagon. You can see how it's built a little bit lower to accommodate the giraffe's height and how they actually feature padding on the inside to make sure the animal is taken care of. Again, if you come see our show, or excuse me, our circus parade on July 20th, we do actually borrow a live giraffe from the Timavati Wildlife Park in the Dells, and we do pull it around. So it's very, very cool to kind of come see how it actually works out there. So as you come around the corner, you can kind of see this golden monstrosity. This is the very first Ringling Brothers bandwagon. It would have led all of their parades. It was our very first attempt at gold leafing as well. It is covered with over $80,000 worth of gold leafing. But it's absolutely worth it. It looks amazing, especially when you get it outside into the sunlight. What's very cool about this wagon as well is the tableau on the side. On most wagons, you only stick out about 2 to 4 inches. This one sticks out a full 18 inches on either side. So it's a monstrosity of a wagon, both in detail and in gold, but it's a very, very beautiful piece that we have still here. So as we walk across, you kind of see on a couple of our wagons, we do have little silver plates telling you who donated or where we got it from, featuring Carson Perry Scott, Macy's, and Walt Disney. Walt Disney did donate 12 wagons to us in 1963, pardon me. And a couple of them were actually used in a lot of the live action movies that they made in 1955, and a couple of them were featured in the very first Main Street Parade at Disneyland in 1955. So it's very, very cool to kind of have those back in, and it's very cool that they recognize what we're doing here at Circus World. So as we walk, on my left, there's a truck that has a cannon on it. That's because it's a cannon. It is a human cannon. This one in particular actually set the record for human flight out of a cannon at 156 feet. So if you ever want to get shot out of something, I know a guy. So I'm just going to kind of swoop around, just talk a little bit about these guys, and then we're going to end up with the Gavioli Band. So we have a couple wagons over here that actually have Benzini Brothers Circus painted on them. Fun fact, there is no such thing as the Benzini Brothers Circus. These were actually used in the movie Water for Elephants. They contacted us about possibly borrowing some of our wagons. We graciously were like, absolutely, we would love to have these featured. So they took them, painted them, took very good care of them, and took very good care of us for doing it. So, if you guys wanted to take a picture with a minor celebrity, that's alright. So this is actually open, which is very, very cool. This is the America tableau of the two that I was saying were remaining. When we rebuilt it, we decided to repurpose it as a steam calliope. So you can kind of see on the inside, there are a couple more modern tweaks, like a fan in there to keep it cooler while it's running, because steam is hot. Now it's very, very cool. It's very, very hard to play as well. When we finally get it fired up and playing, you can really only play one key at a time because it takes both hands to press it down. And it's incredibly loud. But that's okay. They would use steam calliopes back in the day because it was a lot easier when you did not have electricity to kind of boil water. So they would do that, and this would be heard for blocks and blocks and blocks. If you ever came to Circus World, probably not the younger guys, but some of the older people, well, young at heart, pardon me. If you came to Circus World around, you would probably hear the steam calliope for miles on your way in. It's incredibly loud. But nowadays, everything is just doing air. That's why you have the air calliopes and the steam calliopes. You kind of see a couple wagons around that have air calliopes in them because it's way easier nowadays with electricity to just push air through things. So as we kind of look around, the last thing we talk about before I come back around is going to be this little guy, which is an air calliope. Very interesting thing about this wagon is it did not belong to any circus whatsoever. It was just owned by a family that really wanted an air calliope, so they built a wagon around one. This was actually purchased from the Onalaska La Crosse area from the Beck family. They were very gracious in contacting us last year and asking us if we wanted to purchase it, because we've been looking at this wagon and purchasing it for the last 60 years. So we're very excited to have it back in our collection, and we're very glad of how well they took care of it. Even though it was in storage for many years, they did take care of it well enough that it only took us about a week and a half to get it running again. So we got it just enough time working so we could pull it in last year's parade, and we'll probably pull it again in this year's parade as well. If you check our Facebook page out, there is actually a video of our ringmaster playing it. It's a very funny story. Our renovator got it done and got so excited and just called him up immediately. It was like, hey, you need to bring up one of your calliope books. We're going to play this thing right now. So it works like a peach, and you can actually see on the inside how modernized it actually became. It does still have the original air distributor from the 1940s when it was built, but it has a modern lawnmower engine to get it started, complete with the ripcord on the side. So it's very, very cool kind of how they were, they kind of engineered it to work with modern technology, but at the same time, it is very old things. So it's very cool. I just love it, and that's why I wanted to show it to you. But to end our thing, we're going to actually head right back over there to the Gavioli Band organ, where I'll talk about it a little bit, and we'll get some music playing. In Paris, France. It's built by the Gavioli Band Co. They are very well known for their band organs. If you've ever been to House on the Rock, they have that huge room with the music room. They have a bunch of Gaviolis in there as well. This guy, again, was built for a traveling circus here in the United States that only used it for about 8 years before they went out of business. And they put it into a storage facility, a barn, in Kansas where it remained for 40 years. Luckily, it was found by the Royal American Shows, and they used it for a while before they decided they wanted to sell it off, and it was purchased by the Siegelmeyer family. They decided to bring it to Merrill, Wisconsin in 1994. They had it completely renovated back to the way it would have looked back in 1905. And they're very graciously deciding to let us have it on loan. And it's amazing, and I'm super glad they have it here. There are two ways we can play it. The old way, which featured books that looked like this, that basically operated just like player pianos. You'd have each individual hole would open up an airway, and then it would tell which pitch to play or which instrument to play. In this guy, this is an 88 key band organ. We have an 88 key here, and then if you saw the other one playing in the other building, that is a 53. The difference is it adds a lot more bass to this guy. You can tell it also not only has the bass organ part, but it actually has some horns in the back there to kind of give it a little bit more brashness. And then in the front, you have some piccolos, you have some glockenspiels in the front, and then you also have the percussion on the other side, including the bell players on both sides. Nowadays, everything's electronic, so this guy is no different. We have a computer system in there that controls everything just by electronics. So we have a thing that you can just hit play, and it plays music. So it's kind of nice for the non-talented people in the department. I will warn you guys, this is very loud. It does produce the sound of an 80-piece orchestra, and it's directed right at you in a no cavern. So I'll be back there wearing earplugs, but feel free if you guys are like, okay, this is a lot. There's so many wagons that I did not get to cover. There's way more even down there, including a train car that you can go in. It's one of the original Ringling Brothers horse cars, and the only one that remains to this day. So it's very cool to kind of check out. Otherwise, I'll get some music playing for you. I'm going to play a couple of the old songs so you can kind of get a feel what they would have played back in the day. And then I'll play a new song, well, newer for us, from the 60s. So, but thank you so much for joining me on this tour. It is impossibly difficult to give this to myself, so I'm glad that people are around to hear it. Thank you so much. If this is your last thing to do today, I really hope you enjoyed your day here at Circus World. If this is your first thing today, I promise it gets better. Otherwise, enjoy your day here at Circus World.
continue playing for a few minutes.
Just like a few minutes. Those are the eerie, just haunting noises that's happening.
Do they have just a large air pump in there, or?
Yep, it's just like a gallows.
Okay,
So it just probably was just in the right and just decided to slowly.
okay. Well, just like this, 2 gallows?
Yep.
Gallows?
2 years ago, they used to take us down Milwaukee for the circus parade.
Correct.
Were these a lot of these?
Yeah, most of this wagon collection is what went down.
So is the parade that goes here in July, is that kind of like the circus parade used to be?
Yes, like probably a tenth of the size, but it's exactly like that. We pull probably about 20 to 24 wagons out. We do, I believe, 9 by horses, and the rest by the Caterpillar tractors that we have here on site.
This doesn't go on the parade, does it?
This does not. No, it is too heavy to pull.
Figured. How old is it?
This guy is from 1905.
Oh, okay.
So the renovation alone is from 1994. So even that is, what, 15 years ago? No, 25 years?
There's no mention at all about the Schlitz Circus Parade. They call it the Milwaukee Circus
But
Parade.
that's what
The word Schlitz, does it mean?
Yep.
Is there some animosity or something?
No, that's not. The thing was, that was how it started, was the Schlitz Parade. But when they stopped and restarted, then it became the Great Milwaukee Train and Circus Parade.
Okay.
So it's 2 different parades that happened at different times. But no, Schlitz absolutely started it back in the 60s.
Very nice. Excellent.
How much did this originally cost to build back then?
Back then, it probably would have been around, probably like 4,000, 3,500. So
nowadays, that would be what?
that'd probably be around 130,000.
That's why they're not building them anymore.
No. So,
Too expensive a piece of entertainment.
but I mean, it was,
Memorabilia.
it's what drew everybody in. I mean, people would come from all around just to hear it play because, gramophones were for the rich, and to hear something that kind to you to play music, man.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Thank you for the great tour.
So I wonder what, not that it had any impact as far as the early days of symphony. I mean, we all know that symphonies were focused on things like that. They're still going relatively strong, but back in the day, there was symphony every week.
Yeah, there was. And the thing about stuff like this, the technology advancing, it basically caused the advancement of music too, because you had to have not only every concert be perfect because they knew what it sounded like, but also had to be way more extravagant because gramophones had limitations where you couldn't have a lot of percussion in them or anything like that because it could literally make the needle skip if you have too many grooves. And so you would have all of a sudden these extravagant symphonies coming out. Cool. So yeah. Hey,
Thank you.
Hey, appreciate it.
You have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You as well. Hopefully,
Happy Memorial Day.
you as well.
Thank you. It's over here. It's over here. See, Al, didn't I tell you everything's different every time? It's all changed in here. this is a train car from the Ringling Brothers Circus, and we can actually go in it. Here we go. And here's what it looks like in the back. Whoops. Wow, this is pretty neat.
Watch your step, bro. There's some
It's very old.
not. Wouldn't be easy for horses to walk through here either.
Yeah. It's a very old car. I wanted to see that other wagon again with that Persia thing. I didn't get to see that too closely at the beginning. I look forward to seeing this wagon in the parade. This one's going to be in it probably. It was in it last year. We didn't see the show last year.